Okay, so in this video I'm going to go through a bit more tricks. So there are two different methods of working out these. So sometimes we'll be looking for the value that's on the top of the fraction, and you'll see what I mean by that later on. Or sometimes we're looking for the number on the bottom, and it's now just being able to distinguish which method we're going to be using. Now this is actually quite easy to work out as long as you put the numbers in the correct place. Okay, so the first thing we need to do with these is label it. I am going to add steps just because I know some people like to follow steps when they go through this. So first thing we need to do is label, and by that I mean the opposite, the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So I always write it as O, A and H. So the first one, if we've got the 30 here, the side opposite the angle is the opposite side, so that's going to be the O. The side with the two angles on it, so this side here is the A, and then the X is then the H. Now we're looking for the H side, that's the missing one, that's where the X is, and we know that the O is 13, so I'm just going to cross out the A just because we're not looking for that side and there isn't a number on that side already. Okay, so just make sure that you always only use two of the sides. So from there, step 2, we need to work out which formula it is going to be. So if you can't remember, so we've got sine is the opposite divided by hypotenuse. Cos is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. I'm going to write it underneath because I don't think I'll fit it all in. Tan is the opposite over the adjacent. So for this one, we've got 13 where the O is, and we've got H where the X is. So the formula that has O and H in is my sine one for this question. So step 3, I call sub in. So all that means is that we're going to replace all these letters, so the X, the O and the H, with numbers. So I'm just going to move it down a tiny bit. So we've got sine X. Now X in this case here is the angle. Okay, so the angle we've got is 30. The O is what we're looking for, which is 13. Divided by H, which has got the X there. So all I've done is replace the letters with what letter or what number is next to it. Okay, so at this moment we're looking for the number on the bottom, we're looking for the X. So to start this off, the first thing we need to do is we need to stop it being a fraction. So we always multiply by the denominator, whether it's a number or whether it's a letter. So by doing that, we then end up with X times sine 30 is equal to 13. Now the reason why I've written it like this is because you can't multiply X with sine 30 because X is a letter and obviously this actually is a number. It might not look like a number, but if you typed it in a calculator you'd get a number. So to get X on its own, rather than having the sine 30 with it, we need to divide both sides by sine 30. So on a calculator, you'd write 13 divided by sine 30, which I think is 26, but I will check. So literally 13, you can actually use a fraction button if you wanted as well. 13 divided by sine 30 equals, and we get 26 centimetres. Okay. Now we're going to follow these steps the whole way through. I'm not going to rewrite them because you can obviously just follow what I'm doing. So for number 2, step 1, we label it. So the angle's here. So the side opposite would be the 15. So this is our O. Okay. The opposite side over here is the adjacent. And this one's our hypotenuse. So the A is on the Y and the O is on the 15. H doesn't have any number on it, and it doesn't have a letter on it, so that means I'm going to cross it off because it means we're not going to be using it for this question. So we look at the formulas. So we've got the sine, the cos and the tan. We look at the formula that has O and A in it, which will be the tan formula. So I'm just going to write that out first. So tan is O over A. Okay, and then I sub the numbers in. So we've got tan of the angle, which is 42. O is 15. And A is Y, that's what we're looking for. So this one's going to be just the same method as the first one. Okay, so the first thing we do is we try and get rid of the fraction. So we multiply by whatever's on the bottom, which in this case is Y. So then we get Y times tan 42 equals 15. Now we can't multiply those together. So what we then do is we divide both sides by tan 42. Okay, so then we're left with Y on the left hand side, which is what we want. And this side we get 15 divided by tan 42, which we then just type into a calculator. So I'm going to use the fraction sign this time. So 15 divided by tan 42. And we get this. So I'm going to round it to one decimal place. That's going to be 16.7 centimetres. Okay, so just make sure you read the question. It will probably tell you how many decimal places or sig figs that it might want you to do. Okay, and for the last ones, EG3, so we've got a 5 here and we've got the Z going along the bottom. So first thing we're going to label, so that's the opposite side, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse side. Okay, so just make sure you're getting those right. So we have something on the H, we have the letter on the A, so it's the O that we're not going to be using. So if we go back to our formulas, I'll move it over a tiny bit. So the formula that has A and H in is going to be the cos, because it's A and H there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just I'm going to write it out. So cos X is A over H. And then we can sub it in. So cos of the angle, so cos 19, equals A, which is the letter Z, divided by H, which is the number 5. So this one's different to the other two because what we're looking for is the letter on the top of the fraction. But we still do the same thing. We always multiply by whatever's on the bottom. So we've got the 5 on the bottom of the fraction. So we do that first. So we multiply by 5 and we get 5 times cos 19 equals Z. Now 5 is a number and cos 19, if you type it in a calculator, is a number as well. So all we do is put that into a calculator, multiply them together. Okay, so like that. And it will give you a number. So that's going to be 4.7. So these ones are generally the easier ones, okay?